We're live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. Netanyahu urges nations to speak up on Hamas sexual violence against Israeli women on 7th of October. European Union faces a huge risk of
Israeli women, horrible atrocities, sexual mutilation. Where the hell are you?
European Union faces a huge risk of terrorist attacks over the Christmas period. EU's Home Affairs chief says it is due to the fallout from the Israel-Hamas conflict. 8th Annual Artificial Intelligence Summit begins in New York to delve into the future of applied AI. Regulating emerging technologies big on agenda. And in the Junior Hockey World Cup 2023, India starts campaign with impressive 4-2 win against Korea. And on to details now. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Tuesday said that he had heard stories of sexual abuse at a meeting with hostages returned by Hamas during a recent pause in the fighting in Gaza. He called out on the women's and human rights organizations to act on it, stating that he did not hear their outrage. Meanwhile, Israeli police released the accounts of sexual violence in Hamas attack. As per the individual accounts, victims were tortured, physically abused, raped, burned alive and dismembered. Israeli police said last month it was investigating possible sexual crimes by some of the few hundred Gaza militants they arrested after the devastating October 7th Hamas attack.
I say to the women's rights organizations, to the human rights organizations, you've heard of the rape of Israeli women? Horrible atrocities, sexual mutilation? Where the hell are you? I expect all civilized leaders, governments, nations to speak up against this atrocity.
Netanyahu also said the ground operation had expanded to the south of the Gaza Strip and that there is no place beyond our reach. As Israel continues, it's one of the biggest ground combat in Gaza since a truce with Hamas was called off last week. Its troops have surrounded Khan Yunis. The Israeli forces also dubbed the day as the most intense day of fighting since its ground operation started in late October. While Israeli forces further said that they have tightened the noose around southern Gaza's main city.
60 days after the war began, our forces are now encircling the Khan Yunis area in the southern Gaza Strip. Simultaneously, we continue to secure our accomplishments in the northern Gaza Strip. Those who thought that the IDF would not know how to renew the fighting after the pause were mistaken, and Hamas is already feeling this. Many Hamas operatives, including senior commanders, have been eliminated in recent days.
Well, the International Red Cross President Mirjana Spoljaric traveled to Gaza on Monday, where she called for a military de-escalation in Gaza and for all sides to find solutions other than military to end the conflict.
The majority of people I met today have been displaced several times. I met people who have lost limbs because they needed to evacuate between treatments, and they lost a hand or a foot because they couldn't be treated in the hospital where they arrived first. I was told today that the North has lost its entire surgical capacity. We have to find solutions to this. We can't turn away from what is evidently a moral failure in the face of the international community. I'm calling on all parties, on everyone who has an influence, to de-escalate and to find the military solutions to what is an immense suffering of the people on both sides. We have to protect the rights of the people. We have to protect the rights of the civilians. We have to protect the rights of the detainees. We have to protect the rights of the hostages.
Well, the U.S. will impose visa bans on extremist Israeli settlers following attacks against Palestinians in the West Bank. It's a rare rebuke from the Biden administration for its Middle East ally. DD India's correspondent Nick Harper shares more details from Washington.
The US State Department says that anyone involved in undermining peace, security or stability in the occupied West Bank will now face visa restrictions. The ban can also be extended to individuals' family members, according to the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken. It follows repeated warnings from Washington that Israel must curb violence by Israeli settlers against Palestinians. Blinken said the US had underscored to the Israeli government that it needs to do more to hold accountable those who perpetrate violence. The restrictions begin with immediate effect, and the State Department says more could be added in the coming days. It means anyone who's committed violence who already has an existing US visa will be told it's been revoked. Dozens of Israelis are expected to be affected by the new restrictions. The UN says attacks against Palestinians has more than doubled since the Hamas attack on October the 7th. Israel has occupied the West Bank since 1967. That was the Middle East War. It's an area that Palestinians say should be at the core of an independent Palestinian state. In the decades since, Israel has built Jewish settlements, something that many countries rule as illegal. The punishment is a rare one, with the Biden administration staunchly backing Israel since the Hamas attack. But in recent days, Washington has intensified calls for the Israeli government to limit civilian casualties as its forces extend their campaign into the southern part of Gaza Strip. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
And Israeli forces raided the West Bank city of Jenin on Tuesday. Israeli forces also stopped and searched ambulances going through the city. 5 persons were reportedly injured during the raid. And updates now on Russia-Ukraine war. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky cancelled plans to appeal directly to U.S. lawmakers for new aid on Tuesday. He cancelled it as a partisan battle over immigration policy threatened to derail President Joe Biden's request for billions of dollars for Kyiv's fight against Russia. The House Speaker Mike Johnson, a Republican, said funds for Ukraine must be tied to transformative change in U.S. immigration policy. And now let's go live across to Global Technology Summit, where Minister of State for Electronic and Information Technology Rajiv Chandrasekhar is addressing the gathering.
Competitiveness stack, and you look at what's happening. Let's put Taiwan to the side. Arizona, Japan, Korea, Europe. The Indian niche that you're trying to build towards is where?
I think so first of all, look, I think we would be $110, $120 billion market for semiconductors as
domestically
in India. No, the demand for semiconductors, because on one hand, the electronics manufacturing industry is also growing leaps and bounds. So, A, we are a market. B, we are a geopolitically, a geography that is, and I'll use these words carefully, that is certainly not Taiwan, that is not Korea, and is not very close to a country that we all realized is not really reliable and trusted. So we have geopolitical advantages, market demand, and in areas of design, research, and talent, we are certainly, our ambition is certainly to be out there competing with the best in the world. Now, in the fab and the packaging part, and packaging again, we think because of the way packaging innovation is evolving, and that again there is so much of headroom for innovation in packaging, that is again an area that I think India can be, if not amongst the leaders, at least in the lead table of that. On fabs, look, we'll play the long game. We will have the legacy node capabilities that will service automotive, industrial, and maybe in these cutting-edge compute areas where TSMC, Intel, Glofo, Samsung are the leaders. That is not an area that we will necessarily get into in a hurry because of just where that technology is and the risk and yield and supply chain that needs to be in place before you can support that kind of cutting-edge technology. So we see in large part us playing a big role in the innovation of the semiconductor space, in the actual science and engineering space in the fabs. We will have a presence. We will create the capabilities around legacy nodes. And I mean legacy as in not 180 nanometers. I'm talking about 28 nanometer, 40 nanometer. And address segments of the market that are digitizing fast: automotive, industrial, wireless, and telecom. And allow the big boys to play in the compute and the mobile devices space.
The balance between attracting foreign firms and indigenization to build up the Indian competitor, how is that?
We don't see this as a binary at all. We don't see this as having to choose between a foreign company or an Indian company. We encourage foreign investments. Micron is a clearly American company. We encourage joint ventures. We encourage fully owned companies. And Micron is a classic example where usually the narrative is that you need an Indian partner because you need somebody to navigate the lay of the land. That's the conventional wisdom. And for Micron, the partner is the government of India and the government of Gujarat. So you really don't need that type of partnership anymore. You need partnerships where people bring complementary amounts of capital, pools of capital, or complementary skills. And so we are completely supportive and encouraging of partnerships or indeed 100% owned investments.
Can I ask you to talk a little bit about the legal architecture that's emerging here? We've heard a lot about the data protection and all that, but there's also the Digital India Act. There are other bills that are pending. Talk about how these things fit together to create a legal architecture.
So first of all, I must tell you that this is a well thought of architecture that is being rolled out. So there's nothing that is ad hoc. We are not solving one problem without looking at the other problem. The framework that our Prime Minister has mandated for us to build is a framework that will enable the $1 trillion digital economy goal that we've given ourselves. And that addresses electronics manufacturing, it addresses innovation, it addresses startups, AI, and all of that. The existing piece that we have is called the IT Act, which is, for those who don't know, is a 22-year-old legislation. Doesn't have the word internet in it, so therefore I think there's a consensus that it can be safely superseded and replaced. The successor act to that is something called the Digital India Act, which is a work in progress. We have the draft ready, and while a lot of work has gone into it, I suspect that before the next elections we will not be able to legislate it, because one of the things that the Prime Minister insists on is that we need every digital legislation to be extensively consulted on. So therefore, I don't think we have enough time to get that done. The second piece of that has been the Digital Personal Data Protection Bill, which is already enacted and is law, which is, again, I think, in a world that excessively celebrated the GDPR, this is, again, like I said, the same contrast. This balances the need to have innovation be growing unimpeded, as well as protecting consumer rights and fundamental rights to privacy. I think it does it very well, and from all the feedback I have gotten, people are happy with it. The rules that go into that Digital Personal Data Protection Bill will be out for consultation later this month. They are ready. And we will notify those rules probably by end of this month or early next month.
The overarching theme of this summit is geopolitics and tech. So if you take that issue and you extend it globally, do you worry about the implications of fragmentation around legal architectures, data localization, different rules that are emerging? You mentioned GDPR. So there's a European way, there's an American way, there's a Korean way, the emerging Indian way. Do we have a harmonization problem, or is fragmentation not something that can?
I think there are two things here that are, in a sense, working in opposite directions. One is post-COVID. I think every country.
We were watching live from Global Technology Summit, where Minister of State for Electronics and Information Technology Rajiv Chandrasekhar was speaking. And earlier, Dr. R.K. Ranjan, India's Minister of State for External Affairs and Education, made a keynote address in which he emphasized on the urgency for a groundbreaking innovation model in the Global South for future-ready human resources.
In recent times, we have seen a lot of major geopolitical events that will shape our future, being influenced and impacted by technological development, as well as developments aimed at regulating deployment of technology. There is a need to shift the focus towards creating model of technology-driven globalization, and that works for developing and the developed world. This would need a global South-led model of innovation, focusing on not just receiving technology, but also playing a larger and more active role in creating new technology.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Boris Johnson to be questioned in COVID-19 inquiry, expected to apologize for government shortfalls. Venezuela authorizes oil exploration in an area around a territory currently under dispute with Guyana. And Honduras bus crash leaves 12 dead. President declares national mourning. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on. A defense cooperation agreement is to be signed between Sweden and United States. U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and Swedish Defense Minister Pai Johnson met at the Pentagon before signing the agreement on Tuesday. The agreement comes as the Nordic country strengthens military alliances as it waits for approval from Turkey and Hungary to join NATO. And during the meeting, Austin said both countries will continue to learn from each other, building defense capabilities and strengthening interoperability.
We're going to sign a defense cooperation agreement today, and that will embody our shared commitment to the defense relationship between our two proud democracies. We look forward to learning from each other as we continue to build our defense capabilities together and to strengthen our interoperability. Sweden has shown outstanding leadership in supporting Ukraine as it fights Russian aggression, including providing $2.7 billion in security and humanitarian assistance.
While the European Union is facing a huge risk of terrorist attacks during the Christmas period, the bloc's Home Affairs Division warned on Tuesday. Ahead of a meeting of EU Home Affairs ministers in Brussels, the Union's Home Affairs Chief, Ylva Johansson, has said that with the war between Israel and Hamas and the polarization it causes in our society, with the upcoming holiday season, especially Christmas, there is a huge risk of terrorist attacks in the European Union. Johansson's assessment is based on the steep increase in extremist propaganda circulating online, as well as the rising threat level in member states amid recent attacks in Belgium and France.
With the war between Israel and Hamas and the polarization it causes in our society, with the upcoming holiday season, there is a huge risk of terrorist attacks in the European Union. We saw recently in Paris, unfortunately we have seen it earlier as well. We will now make available additional 30 million euros for protection of, for example, places of worship in this situation.
Well, today in Manhattan, AI industry experts will gather for the 8th Annual AI Summit New York to forecast industry's trajectory. The summit, spanning 2 days, unites knowledge leaders, policymakers, and corporate executives for discourse and workshops. Amid a global push for tech regulation, it assumes significance. DD India's correspondent Sally Patterson delivers more details on this crucial conclave.
It's an opportunity to rub shoulders with some of the biggest names in AI. Representatives from technology companies, financial institutes and governments are set to hold talks and then stick around for networking afterwards. Tech giants including Microsoft, OpenAI and Google are all on the bill. Organisers say the summit, held on December 6th and 7th, will showcase how businesses are implementing and financing AI in a rapidly changing world. It comes just over a month after the UK held a major AI safety summit, looking at the risks of the economy and the industry. World leaders around the world are grappling with how to regulate it. In New York this week, the risks of AI will once again be in focus, tackling bias in technology, for example, but also opportunities for healthcare, finance, security, and more. Through speaker events, workshops, and feedback sessions, it's designed to be a very hands-on event. It promises to upskill employees through interactive and in-depth training sessions. And it is certainly an investment, with delegate tickets costing $2,400. Sally Patterson in New York, reporting for DD India.
Well, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is set to face intense scrutiny in the COVID-19 inquiry. He will likely issue apologies for government shortcomings while also defending his administration's actions. Testimony from previous witnesses revealed a chaotic Downing Street. This pivotal moment will be closely watched as the nation seeks accountability and closure. DD India's correspondent Ollie Barrett reports from London.
Boris Johnson is expected to use his appearance at the COVID-19 inquiry to apologise for mistakes that were made by his government in the handling of the pandemic. But we also expect him to mount a pretty robust defence of some of the government responses to the COVID-19 outbreak. For example, we expect that Boris Johnson will point to things like the rollout of vaccines in this country more quickly than was seen in many other parts of the world. But up to this point, the questioning of various witnesses has painted a sometimes chaotic and dysfunctional picture of the Downing Street operation that the former Prime Minister was running during the COVID pandemic. We expect some fairly robust questioning, for example, about the timing of lockdowns imposed by Boris Johnson's government. The former Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, when he spoke to the COVID inquiry, suggested that he believed that if the UK had locked down earlier, at the beginning and in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, then thousands of lives could have been saved. We also expect that Boris Johnson will be asked about Partygate, that row, those controversies about parties in and around Downing Street during periods of lockdown, which were so controversial when all of the details came out and led to the eventual downfall of Boris Johnson as Prime Minister. We also expect Boris Johnson to deny allegations made by an aide during evidence to this inquiry that he was not focused on COVID-19 at the beginning of the pandemic because he was away writing a book on Shakespeare. This is very much expected to be the most high-profile moment of the COVID-19 inquiry so far. Boris Johnson will be questioned on Wednesday and then on Thursday. The inquiry was set up by his government to try and go through the preparation and the responses by the UK government to the COVID-19 pandemic and also learn lessons for the future. Ollie Barrett in London reporting for DD India.
Well, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro said on Tuesday that he would authorize oil exploration in an area around the Essequibo River, the territory currently under dispute with Guyana. His comments came after the recent referendum where voters rejected the International Court of Justice's jurisdiction over the disagreement and backed creating a new state in the territory. The ICJ last week barred Venezuela from taking any action that changes the status quo in the oil-rich region.
We will discuss to create firm legislation to prohibit hiring companies that operate or collaborate with the unilateral concessions given by Guyana in parts of the sea that is yet to be divided. It will be done through special laws. I suggest that in this law, we give these companies 3 months to abandon those operations in the parts of the sea where the borders are yet to be set.
Well, the Australian government on Wednesday asked the opposition to support legislation regarding immigration detainees released after a landmark ruling by the country's top court. In a ruling last month, Australia's High Court had spoken about unlawful detention as there was no real prospect that the detainees could be removed from Australia. The ruling had overturned a 20-year-old ruling regarding the same issue. The proposed law will allow the government to refer non-citizen detainees to judges who will decide whether they pose a risk to the community. Well, the death toll from Indonesia's Merapi volcano eruption has left 22 people dead and 1 still missing. Search operations have resumed today for the 1 remaining missing climber. Informing further, officials said that they are now evacuating the dead bodies from the peak of Merapi. Rescuers have also found more climbers who died near the crater on Tuesday. Moving on, Nigeria loses an estimated 3.7% of its forest each year, according to the United Nations. It has lost 1.14 million hectares of tree cover from 2001 to 2021, the equivalent of 587 million tons of carbon emissions. Climate experts say the expansion of agricultural land and logging of trees are responsible for this and are urging the government to encourage more tree planting and sustainable agriculture. Correspondent Ajak Mangut reports for more.
Ohena Peter and his family are harvesting beans they planted a few months ago. He says the yield has been affected due to poor soil for planting crops.
The soil is not thicker as before, and that washes the nutrients of the soil, and there reduces the rate of what we produce in the farm. Before, we produced like 20 bags per hectare, but today we are having up to 6, 7 only on a hectare. And crops like corn cannot be planted on this soil due to the fact that the soil has lost its nutrients, except if we can afford fertilizer.
Nigeria has a huge problem with deforestation. Nearly 4% of its forest disappears every year.
According to the United Nations, Nigeria has the highest rate of deforestation globally. On this farm on the outskirts of Nigeria's capital, Abuja, only a handful of trees are standing.
Agricultural activities to meet the needs of Nigeria's growing population and cutting of trees for cooking fuel have been largely blamed for Nigeria's depleting forests. Experts say this has in turn impacted food production, as trees which should absorb carbon emissions and nourish the soil for crops to grow have decreased.
Agriculture is one of the highest sources of carbon emission globally, and also one of the highest sources of deforestation also. When the forest is not there to help nourish the soil becomes sterile. Are you not seeing now? So things like deforestation, so like desertification now, like we see in the Sahara area, you understand, starts popping up. In 2012, we saw flood that we are still yet to recover from. And just last year alone, we also witnessed another flood that claims over 630 lives. That's for human lives, right? Not to talk of the economic impact.
Experts say the government needs to address this by planting more trees and encouraging climate-smart agriculture to reduce the impact that deforestation has on farmlands.
One of the solutions to reducing deforestation, first is afforestation. Now, you have to embark on massive tree planting initiatives, right, to cover up for the forest loss that we are able to see depleting. The government also, as one of the solutions, has to start thinking of how to deploy, clean cooking technologies, so that, because once we now adopt these technologies, we will stop bringing down these trees, and that way the forest will be safe.
Nigeria's Ministry of Agriculture says it is incorporating technology and innovation into the agricultural sector to increase food production and reduce the impact of climate change. Last year, the government announced plans to engage young Nigerians to plant 250,000 trees to reduce carbon emissions. That is yet to be implemented. Until then, farmers like Peter will have to make do with a depleted harvest. Ajak Mangut in Abuja, reporting for DD India.
Well, national mourning has been declared by the Honduras President Xiomara Castro after 10 people were reported dead and 25 were injured in a bus crash on Tuesday. The bus had fallen into a river after crashing into a bridge while skidding on the highway. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Indian President hosts a banquet in the honor of Kenyan counterpart, emphasizes two countries must work together for Global South. Cyclone storm MJ weekends over central coastal Andhra Pradesh. Heavy rains leave trail of deluge and disruption. We'll show you glimpses of Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra, which reaches India's Agra.
Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution. This series is going to tell stories of such change makers. Watch Change Makers on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Netanyahu urges nations to speak up on Hamas sexual violence against Israeli women on 7th of October. European Union faces a huge risk of terrorist attacks over the Christmas period. EU's Home Affairs chief says it is due to the fallout from the Israel-Hamas conflict. 8th Annual Artificial Intelligence Summit begins in New York to delve into the future of applied AI, regulating emerging technologies, big on agenda. And in the Junior Hockey World Cup 2023, India starts campaign with impressive 4-2 win against Korea. And moving on, Indian President Draupadi Murmu hosted a banquet in the honor of her Kenyan counterpart William Samoei Ruto at Rashtrapati Bhavan. President Murmu emphasized the robust bilateral relationship between Kenya and India, highlighting India's significant economic collaboration and commitment to support Kenya's developmental journey. President Murmu said the two countries must work together, not only for the well-being and progress of the people of both countries, but also for the citizens of the Global South. The President of India and Kenya expressed common global views and cooperation in regional and multilateral forums. Well, Indian Ocean neighbours, India and Kenya, have decided to enhance their maritime and defence relations apart from strengthening their ties in multiple domains, ranging from digital public infrastructure to culture and sports. Bilateral talks were held on Tuesday in New Delhi between India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Kenya's President William Ruto. Here are the details.
India and Kenya took their bilateral ties up several notches on Tuesday at the end of the delegation-level talks between the two sides in New Delhi. Documents for 5 memorandums of understanding were exchanged in the presence of the leaders of both the countries. Key announcements were also made on enhancing maritime and defense cooperation.
हिंद महासागर से जुड़े हुए देशों के रूप में मैरीटाइम सिक्योरिटी, पायरेसी और ड्रग ट्रैफिकिंग हमारी साझा प्राथमिकता के विषय है। इस महत्वपूर्ण क्षेत्र में आपसी सहयोग को मजबूत करने के लिए हम मैरीटाइम कोऑपरेशन पर जॉइंट विजन स्टेटमेंट जारी कर रहे हैं।
A wide range of ties and issues were covered during the bilateral meet. These include MOU for cooperation in sports, particularly athletics and cricket, MOU for cooperation in the field of digital public infrastructure, extension of the cultural exchange program from 2023 to 2027, MOU between the Bureau of Indian Standards and its Kenyan counterpart. MOU between the Indian and Kenyan National Open Universities. Kenya's decision to join the International Solar Alliance and Global Biofuel Alliance. Kenya has offered its land to Indian entities for cultivation purposes. Kenya has expressed interest in trade using national currencies. Prime Minister Modi also announced India's decision to provide Kenya with $250 million as line of credit to modernize its agriculture. He said India has prioritized and expanded its ties not only with Kenya but the entire African continent in mission mode during the last 10 years.
Cultural exchange program.
पिछले लगभग एक दशक में हमने मिशन मोड में अफ्रीका के साथ अपना सहयोग बढ़ाया है। मुझे विश्वास है कि राष्ट्रपति रूटो की यात्रा से हमारे द्विपक्षीय संबंधों के साथ साथ पूरे अफ्रीका महाद्वीप के साथ हमारे एंगेजमेंट को नया बल मिलेगा।
Kenyan President William Samoei Ruto appreciated India's efforts in making the African Union a part of the G20 and bolstering the voice of the Global South.
That today, because of Prime Minister Modi's engagement and championship, the African Union is now a member of the G20. I have also congratulated Prime Minister Modi for his leadership in the Global South.
Earlier in the day, the Kenyan president paid homage to the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, at Rajghat Memorial. He was also given a ceremonial reception by President of India, Draupadi Murmu, at Rashtrapati Bhavan, along with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, where he also inspected a guard of honor. Amritpal Singh's report, DD India, Delhi.
And an update on cyclone now. The southern and coastal districts of East Indian state of Odisha have been put on alert since Tuesday night, with heavy rainfall forecast as severe cyclone MJ moved northward after its landfall in Andhra Pradesh. With at least 12 people reportedly killed, caution has been sounded in the western coastal states of India. According to the India Meteorological Department, latest update, MJ has weakened into a deep depression over central coastal Andhra Pradesh. It's positioned approximately 100 kilometers northwest of Babatla at 50 kilometers southeast of Khammam, the IMD said. The system is anticipated to further lose intensity, transforming into a depression within the next 6 hours and eventually downgrading into a well-marked low-pressure system during the subsequent 6 hours, the Met Department said. Meanwhile, Chennai received heavy rains due to cyclonic storm MJ that left the city inundated. The city is still reeling under the floods, with several areas still underwater and suffering from power outages. Around 4,000 cusecs of water was released from Chennai's Chembarakam water reservoir on Tuesday, December 5th. The city's water level is expected to recede as the water outflow has now been stopped since the inflow into the reservoir has reduced. For the first time since 2015, the water level of the lake reached 23.45 feet, close to its maximum capacity of 24 feet. And for more, Ravi Shankar joins us with, from Guntur in Andhra Pradesh, and Jai Singh joins us from Chennai. Ravi Shankar, first question to you. As the cyclone has made a landfall in Andhra Pradesh, what is the situation there right now?
Yeah, Napasti, good morning. Andhra Pradesh, it has a coastal line of 974 kilometers, and at about 3.5 crore people are living over the coastal line. If you see, in 2018, the last cyclone was in Andhra Pradesh, which is very severe, and later on, yesterday's this cyclone is severely affected by Andhra Pradesh. If you see, the cyclone's effect at about 8 districts of Andhra Pradesh and at about 40 mandals got severely affected by this. And if you see the severe effect at about 3,000 kilometers of roads got damaged in the overall state and in the 8 districts. And because of this, the road transport system got severely damaged. At about 400 buses got cancelled, which become a big hurdle to general public. And regarding transport, trains also at about 45 trains from Guntur division and 150 trains from Vijayawada division, sorry, South Central Railway got cancelled because of the severe cyclone. And the crops, if you go through the crops, The crop damage was considerably big because the paddy, this is the yielding time for paddy, and if you see it about 1 lakh acres of paddy in Guntur district and 1.5 lakh in Bapatra district and much more in the Krishna district. In overall, if you see paddy, mixed cotton and black gram, all these 4 crops, at about 7,000 rupees, crores rupees of loss was happened to agriculture especially. And the restoration process is going on. As far as electric department is concerned, in 1,670 villages, electric poles and all got damaged. The restoration process is going on, and at about 20 teams were kept for this restoration process, and it will take 2-3 days as per the officials.
All right. Also, Jai Singh, can you tell us what is the situation in Chennai right now? Has the water started receding?
Well, in and around Chennai, fortunately, there is no rain. For the past 2 days, the sun is very bright and the sky is also clear. However, the problem of water inundation in several areas, especially in the neighboring districts like Tiruvallur and Chengalpattu, still remains very grim because they are known for several major lakes and reservoirs, and all of them are full to the brim, and the surplus water were released in a huge quantum of several cusecs, like 6,000 cusecs were released from Chembrambakam and more than 4,000 from Pundi Reservoir in Tiruvallur district, inundating several habitations. And the water is yet to recede because these areas are actually naturally low-lying areas. Therefore, the task remains a very challenging one. However, the level is gradually coming down, thanks to the efforts that are being taken on a war footing, and also because of the grace of nature, because the sun is quite bright now. And this Chief Minister has demanded 5,060 crore rupees from Centre as an interim relief to make immediate relief measures, and he has also requested the Centre to deploy a central team to assess the damages.
Right. Also, Jai Singh, how are the rescue operations going on right now there?
Well, the rescue operations and the relief efforts are going on a war footing. The Central National Disaster Response Teams, NDRF, has deployed several teams, 19 teams in Chennai alone, by mobilizing the team from its Arakonam base and also from the neighboring Andra Pradesh like Vijayawada, from where several teams have come, and many rescue teams from neighboring corporation areas like Trichurapalli. They have also come with their sanitary workers to clear the debris that are full, spread over all across the affected regions, including Chennai and its suburban districts.
All right. Also, Ravi Shankar, can you tell us that what is the rescue situation there?
Yeah, NDRF, it deployed 11 teams, you can say, and they are very much equipped with modern machinery. And comparatively, if you compare to the past 4 years, they are much better as far as equipment is concerned, and they are doing very rapid work in Andhra Pradesh. At about 3,000 kilometers of roads got damaged, especially these roads got blocked somewhere. And these NDRF teams are working severely on that, and they are firstly concentrating on communication and electricity, which is much more important to general public.
All right, thank you so much to both of you for joining us and giving us that update from Chennai and Andhra Pradesh. And moving on, Hindu College celebrates 125 years of academic excellence with the unveiling of a commemorative postage stamp. Debuscent Chauhan, Minister of State for Communications, launched the stamp alongside Professor Yogesh Singh, Vice Chancellor of the University of Delhi. Chauhan praised the institution's commitment to knowledge and innovation, emphasizing the stamp's significance in honoring both the past and the future. The stamp features the college's iconic building on it.
Joining me is Professor Singh, the Vice Chancellor of Delhi University. Sir, you are here in Hindu College. It's a prestigious college and it's celebrating its 125 years. How does it feel coming here?
I'm extremely happy to be here. And 125 years have passed. And this journey of 125 years is a journey of excellence, academic excellence, outstanding performance. And Hindu College is the star performer of University of Delhi and pride of our country.
How does it feel, you actually were part of the history making?
I am extremely very happy, and this is postal stamp is only the depiction of the hard work of Hindu College and University of Delhi. My thanks to the Postal Department and Government of Bharat for helping us in this endeavor, and we will do very well in the next 25 years.
How do you see the role of Hindu College in the next, let's say, 20 years down the line?
First of all, the priority should be the expansion, because when this Hindu College was started with 6 students, now we have 4,000 students. But in next 20-25 years, we want this institution to be an institution of 10,000.
So that was the Vice Chancellor of the University saying that the college expand exponentially because keeping in line with Management and Boris of Prasar Bharati, it tends to keep in touch with the reality of today.
And moving on, India observes Mahaparinirvan Divas, marking the death anniversary of father of Indian Constitution, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. Indian President Draupadi Murmu, Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid respectful tribute to Dr. Ambedkar on Mahaparinirvan Divas. Along with being the architect of the Indian Constitution, Ambedkar was an immortal champion of social harmony who dedicated his life for the welfare of the exploited and the deprived. Many programs are being organized across the country to pay tribute to Baba Saheb. While building a cyber-safe India is one of the top priorities of the government, taking a step forward on this, the government has blocked over 100 websites involved in organized investment or task-based part-time job frauds. These websites were learned to be operated by overseas actors by using digital advertisement, chat messengers and mule or rented accounts. It was also learned that proceeds from the large-scale economic frauds were seen to be laundered out of India using card network, cryptocurrency, overseas ATM withdrawals and international fintech companies. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. A 5-year-old girl who fell into 25-feet bore well in India's Madhya Pradesh was successfully rescued by the disaster relief forces. The rescue teams evacuated the girl from the 25-feet bore well around 2:30 a.m. IST on Wednesday following an operation that went on for almost 9 hours. Under the Indian Prime Minister's initiative, a Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra being developed in Jhansi, awareness programs have been created to inform various public welfare schemes run by the central government. Along with this, many schemes including Ayushman Card, Ujjwal Yojana are being given in the camp. The beneficiaries thanked Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. Also, Indian Prime Minister's Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra reached Moti Mahal in India's Agra. The yatra included awareing people about public welfare schemes of Central and Uttar Pradesh government. Free health checkup medicines were also distributed. Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra is rapidly gaining momentum in order to spread information the benefits of central government schemes to the citizens across the country. Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra was organized in India's national capital, Delhi. A huge crowd gathered to receive information related to schemes and programs run by the Indian government. The Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra towards a developed India was also held in northern region of Jammu's Rajouri district. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Hollywood actors approve deal to end strike after nearly 4 months. And Argentina and Inter Miami forward Lionel Messi named Time magazine's Athlete of the Year. And in women's cricket, India and England begin the T20 series with the first T20 at the iconic Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai today.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs. With a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on to some business news. Members of the SAG-AFTRA Actors Union have approved a 3-year contract with major studios on Tuesday. This officially 6 months of Hollywood labor disputes and strikes that halted film and television production. SAG-AFTRA said 78% of votes were in favor of the agreement, which provides for pay raises, streaming bonuses, and guardrails around the use of artificial intelligence in filmmaking. An Indian benchmark indices Sensex and Nifty sustained their record-breaking streak on Wednesday amid cautious global markets anticipating pivotal U.S. data. NSE Nifty was up by 0.21%, while the BSE Sensex was up 0.17% at 9:40 a.m. Both indices gained over 5% in the last 6 sessions, entering overbought territory. The market surge is fueled by revised U.S. interest rate expectations, declining crude prices, robust domestic indicators, foreign investments, and post-election optimism. Asian markets rebounded after a dip. And time now for some sports news. Lionel Messi has been named Time magazine's Athlete of the Year for 2023 after his move to the United States to join Major League Soccer side Inter Miami. Messi joins the likes of Simone Biles, Michael Phelps, LeBron James, and the United States women's national team to win the award. Messi made his debut for the Florida-based franchise in July and announced his arrival by scoring a free kick in the final minutes to give his side a 2-1 victory. Since then, he's had a profound impact on the MLS. With their stars signing on board, Inter Miami won the League's Cup, their first major trophy, beating Nashville in the final, in which Messi scored. The Argentina international scored 11 goals in 14 games in all competitions to finish the season. He was also nominated for the MLS MVP award. And for more, we have our correspondent Anil Thomas with us on this. Well, Anil, how does one see this achievement for Lionel Messi, and who all did he outspace for this honour?
Well, good morning, Lipakshi. A great honour there for another football icon, Lionel Messi. He's beaten the likes, he's beaten big guns, especially when one takes a look at the records that he's managed to put together this year, playing MLS soccer, moving from the French club Paris Saint-Germain. He's beaten Novak Djokovic, who's had a stellar run this particular year on the tennis courts. The 4 Grand Slams that he's played, he's picked up 3 Grand Slams in the 4th, missing Wimbledon, being a runner-up there. So he's had a great run this year. He's outpaced him. He's also outpaced his 2 colleagues, Kylian Mbappe, who played alongside him in the French club Paris Saint-Germain, and Erling Haaland, who plays for Manchester City. So it's been a great year for Lionel Messi. His shift to Major League Soccer in the United States has had a great impact, and that great impact can be seen the way Time magazine have gone about in giving him this honor. The US women's football team had the rare honor of making it to the cover of the Time magazine. And Lionel Messi now joining the likes of Simone Biles, Michael Phelps, and also LeBron James from the world of basketball. Surely is a great endorsement for sports, and 2024 looks bright, especially for sportsmen, because when a sportsman makes it to the cover of the Time magazine, there is always a buzz that's going to be a repeat of another sportsman following it up the very year. So surely a great record in sight and a great cover to get looking at Lionel Messi, the great show that he's had in the particular year, picking up the 8th Ballon d'Or award, outpacing his rival Cristiano Ronaldo, and also the good run that he's enjoyed both for the country and for the club, paying rich dividends with this cover that he manages to get at the end of the year.
All right, how has Messi been an impact in MLS soccer, and how would it help US football overall?
Well, firstly, USA along with Mexico and Canada are hosts to the 2026 World Cup. So that's surely great endorsement for football in United States. And also having Lionel Messi play for Major League Soccer Inter Miami, it's helped Lionel Messi on a personal front with regards to a huge jump in his pay packet. One. Secondly, his followers on social media have actually, take a quantum jump towards northwards. That's something positive for Lionel Messi on a personal front.
Right.
But looking at for the club, the club ticket sales have jumped many a times. You've seen stars come to the stadium to watch, Major League Soccer, like tennis star Serena Williams, Kim Kardashian, attending the games that Lionel Messi has played. He's played, 14 matches, scored 11 goals for them. So all in all, Lionel Messi has hit the right notes, making his debut in MLS soccer. David Beckham was the first to get on the blocks, playing Major League Soccer, an international football star who first moved to America and played soccer there.
All right.
And this particular movement that he has done purely in terms of performance on and off the field surely would help America as they look forward to hosting the 2026 World Cup, where Ronaldo is indicated he's all likely to play. Lionel Messi is still in ifs and buts, but this particular movement surely would help Lionel Messi think about playing the 2026 World Cup when he'll be almost 39 years old.
All right, Anil, the big question, who is the GOAT of football, Messi or Ronaldo? Who comes out on the top?
Well, that's a catch-22 situation, if you ask me, to decide between the two. I would say Diego Maradona, just before his untimely death, summed up Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo together. He said, you need to have the leadership skills of Ronaldo, and you need to have the humility of Lionel Messi to be a great footballer. And I think, both the skills that these two players have, but purely just in terms of Lionel Messi helping Argentina win that World Cup in the last edition in Qatar, and he winning that 8th Ballon d'Or, that's the most biggest coveted trophy that a footballer would look to get, on a personal level. I think having ticked those two boxes, Lionel Messi would have a slight edge over Cristiano Ronaldo.
All right.
But remember, Cristiano Ronaldo would always bounce back the next year much stronger and in much better shape.
All right, Anil, thank you so much for that. And moving on, India dished out a dominant display to beat Korea 4-2 in its opening pool match of the FIH Junior Men's Hockey World Cup on Tuesday. Rajat Singh Handal struck a hat-trick of goals. Handal scored in the 11th, 16th and 41st minutes, while Amandeep found the target for India in the 30th minute in the Pool C match. India next plays against Spain in its second pool match. Canada is the other country in the 4-team Pool C. India has won the tournament twice in 2001 and 2016 and finished runner-ups once in 1997. And the Indian women's cricket team is set to face off against England women in the first T20 of a 3-match series at the iconic Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. India, led by captain Harmanpreet Kaur and a deputy Smriti Mandhana, will look to make a strong statement early in the series. The squad features talented players like Jemima Rodrigues and Shefali Verma, who are expected to play pivotal roles. With both Yastika Bhatia and Richa Ghosh included as wicket-keeper batters, India's lineup boasts depth and firepower. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook X, formerly known as Twitter and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.